So if you're new here, I just want to give you a little bit of information about my beliefs. So one of the things that I do is I help people. How do I do so many things. I can do so many things. So how do what do I want to say? So this is all about love. That's what we always want. We want the love, the relationship, the hugs, the kisses. We want our person to express their feelings and not just think about it. This is what we want. Why not? So notice how I said the words, why not? So everything is energy and words have energy. So when I say why not, it's leaving a question. And with the feeling of the question creates, right? It settles into your body. So I teach different practices to people who are wanting to implement or who are wanting to manifest their wish. All right? So you want your person to show interest in you. You want your person to have romantic feelings for you. So as you can see here, this is what you're wanting. So imagine that this is you. You are both this little girl and this woman. So you are both of these. Isn't it amazing that you're so diverse and that you have so much to offer? Isn't it so awesome that you're so diverse and that you have so much to offer? So here you are offering your cup to your love interest, wanting your love interest to love you back. But the love that they have for you can't be dependent on them, you being in a relationship with them. So this is all about loving oneself unconditionally. So the love that you have for this person is based on the love that you have from yourself, with yourself. So the only way that you can love this other person, truly love this other person, is that the love would have to move through you and then outward, right? So here you can see, this is this offering. So here I love bubblies. So cheers. So today's Thanksgiving in Canada, and I am so thankful that I have this cold, bubbly, refreshing drink. So this is what I'm doing. I'm experiencing being in the moment, having appreciation. So by doing this, I'm more receptive. So this draws in the love because it's a magnet. You're a magnet. So you're emanating, you're the mirror, and you're putting your energy out there, and that energy comes back to you because you're a mirror. So isn't it so awesome to be able to have so much confidence and to know your value and to know your worth and to feel comfortable receiving this loving, intimate, kind, caring energy? Because of course you're going to receive this beautiful energy because you're so freaking amazing. So now what I want to talk about is judgment, right? So a lot of the feelings and the fears and the insecurities that we have are based on our fear of rejection. But you can't experience the fear of rejection unless you don't feel good enough. So when you feel good enough, you're not threatened by the person. You don't feel threatened, or you don't feel fearful of this person abandoning you. And abandonment isn't even true. It's your perception of the abandonment that stokes the feeling, the discomfort. But when you're solid and secure, you don't feel that fear. You know that you are, what do you know? So now I want you all who are watching to sit down and write out, what do you know? What do you know with absolute certainty to be true? And then take that truth and reverse it. Basically, you want to go through it. You want to write down each belief, these thoughts, and you want to ask yourself, do they serve a purpose? Is it supporting you? Are those thoughts actually true? So here we have the Hermit and we have the Seven of Cups. So what happens is when we're isolated, and many of us are experiencing isolation more than ever, right? But there's a reason why all of this has come to pass. So we're learning about what it feels like to be isolated. And our perception of how we feel when we're isolated, the loneliness, the overthinking. So the reason why you're attached to this masculine energy and you're wanting this person to express their feelings is because you're lonely. You're overthinking. So now what do we do to change this? So what we're doing is we're taking that and we're going to switch it. We're going to do a switch up. So what can you be doing in your spare time that is the opposite of what you've been doing? All right. So for me, I love the Hermit, and we're actually currently in Virgo season. So Virgo and the Hermit are correlated. So there's similarities in the meanings between the two of them. So a Virgo likes to have things organized. They like everything to be like Virgo is organized. Every single Virgo has their own organizing system, and it's different for everyone. So for instance, there was this lady I took care of when I was working as a healthcare worker, and she was a hoarder, and like her organization was like, it looked like a mess to me, but to her, she knew exactly where everything was, right? So this isn't a matter of your system, your way of being, your operating system, your beliefs is going to always be different from another person. So then you have that expectation based on how these guys are, your love interest is operating, and you want your love interest to be a certain way. So while you're isolated and you're lonely and you're longing and depressed and sad, you're thinking about your love interest, the masculine. You want to be part of this togetherness, right? You want to be sitting across from your masculine, like with your feet on top of one another. Like just being kind of cute and close and and it's like you're just looking at these children, your creations, and you're admiring them, and you're connected to your divine masculine, and your masculine is connected to their divine feminine. You are one. You have this telepathic ability to communicate without saying anything. And there's security and respect and clear communication. So the clear communication, what we want is we want them to communicate their feelings. But because many masculines don't feel comfortable expressing their feelings, the reason why they don't feel comfortable expressing their feelings is because in the past, when they tried to do this, they were reprimanded. They were reprimanded. Think about that. And look at it from, okay, if you have ever been reprimanded, think of that time where you're like, oh, you did something and you regretted and you were reprimanded. The feeling of like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? So that's when we talk about impulsiveness. So those times when you're acting from an unbalanced, or like, let's say you're emotionally immature, right? So your fear of abandonment gets you caught up in your head. You start overthinking. You start imagining different scenarios all these different scenarios, right? And then you're like, so then basically you don't receive communication from your love interest, and then it further gets you overthinking and you're spiraling and you're in so much emotional pain. It's overwhelming emotional pain of like longing and loneliness and right? So then you're like all of that and you're overthinking. And so basically when you're all these thoughts create an energy. So the thoughts and the energy creation, the basis of it is going to determine a positive emotion or a negative emotion. All right. So I just want to talk about what you said here, Madeline. They need to go get some counseling. That's all there is to it. So my perception of what you just said, there's a little bit of bitterness. Maybe it's not bitterness. Maybe it's a negative emotion. That's how I'm perceiving what you said, Madeline. So now let's talk about, here you say they need to go get some counseling. That's all to it. That's all to it. So that's all there is to it. I'm assuming that's what you meant. Okay, so but the thing is like if you have a negative emotion by thinking what you just thought and writing it, then you're not in alignment. All right? So when you're in alignment, it's bliss. You could care less whether or not what's happening in their personal life. The only thing that you will think about for this person is just pure, unconditional love. You wouldn't be thinking, oh yeah, they need to go get counseling. You wouldn't even be thinking any of that. Well, I don't think that you would be. I know that what it feels like personally to be in a state of like complete surrender, unconditional love, just peace. All right? I know what that feels like. Okay, so now this is another example. So this is what you're experiencing here based on what I'm perceiving, based on my experience. In this comment, you say, why should I care what happened in his life? He didn't care what happened in my life. Valid, very valid. I know what that feels like. But that is when I've felt what you just said, that caused me negative emotion. So the negative emotion results in me feeling like shit. So it's basically, you're saying, why should I care about what happened in his life? Well, you don't have to care about it. And you're saying that you don't care about it, but something's telling me that you actually do, because you wouldn't have said it if you did it. It wouldn't even be, there wouldn't even be anything, like it wouldn't even come to mind if you didn't truly care. So what would it be like if we were to just be like, oh, you know, I am so grateful for this experience that I had with my person. I am so grateful for this experience. Like, maybe you're not, maybe you are, but for me, I truly am so grateful for the experiences that I had with my love interest, because if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't have the wisdom and the knowledge that I have right here, right now, in this moment. So that brings me to the next part. So one of the practices that I suggest for everyone, if you want to get it grounded and you want to feel good and you don't want to feel that negative emotion, is to get grounded right here, right now, in the moment. The past doesn't exist. So whatever happened in the past, it no longer exists, except if you're thinking about it. So now the reason why you're thinking about it is because, personally, what I've discovered is when I'm ungrounded. So when I'm ungrounded, especially through my period, like, I'm telling you, man, like, my mental function isn't optimum. I'll tell you that right now, okay? And it sucks when you're in that head space. But the thing is we have the ability to stop doing that. Like, what we're learning is we're learning to not allow ourselves to fall into this, to keep repeating the cycle. So it's just basically goes round and round and round and round. So the more you can implement the certain practices, one of them being, my number one suggestion would be paying attention to whether or not you're grounded. So when you're grounded, like, I know that I'm slightly ungrounded because I'm talking loud, right? So I get really excited and then I start talking really loud. So that's like one of an observation that I've made that I know about myself. So I'm going to recognize that I'm feeling a little bit ungrounded and I'm going to breathe into it. So now I don't feel like I'm grasping for the information. Now I don't feel like I'm detaching from myself to obtain the information, like plucking it from the ethers. I'm not doing that. I'm not plucking anything. All the information and wisdom is within. So it's the expansion, just like the sprouting of the seed. So the seed exists as the seed. All right, so you can be any seed that you want to be. What kind of seed would you be? You can be any seed you want to be. You can be a whole beautiful field of wildflowers. You can be a beautiful rose with thorns.